welcome to my channel. My name is Victoria. I do r/am I the a-holes on this channel. I also talk about weight loss, or I'm going to talk about weight loss rather. For the most part, it's just r/am I the a-hole. I am now starting a series called Get Reddit with Me. Basically, I'm going to read Reddits on this here computer. And in doing so, I will be doing my makeup at the same time while we discuss if this person is an a-hole or not. Let's get started. Oh, also, if you want to hear more Am I the A-hole stuff, or if you're familiar with my channel already, or maybe you just like, hey, I want to watch a new YouTuber, subscribe. Subscribe to my channel right now. Share this video with your friends. Leave your comments and suggestions in that area down there, the comment section. Yeah, let's get started. So today we have an interesting one. Am I the a-hole for convincing my husband to only include our kids in his will? I'm not jumping to conclusions. That's not what I'm here for. Let's just see. My husband is in his 70s and has been suffering from a myriad of health problems. Meanwhile, our youngest child is 3 years old, and we have a total of 5 kids ranging from 3 to 17. He's pretty much an absentee owner of his business now. His older 3 kids are in their 30s, and they all decided not to go to college, but are all employed right now. I will be fine when my husband is gone because I know how to run his business and our homes are all paid for. That's okay. But I want my kids to be able to get the independent head start in life, where they can have their own money and spend or invest it in the way they like. No offense, but his older kids already had their chance to decide what they wanted to do with their lives, and I'm sure if they asked my husband, he would have been able to help. However, every time his older 3 kids tried something, they were adamant that their dad have nothing to do with it, and they generally have a combative relationship with their dad. After his latest health scare, sorry, here's why I'm laughing. This is very, it's giving me kind of like old movie. It's giving me this very like, it's just very interesting. This is heading in a very interesting direction. So my husband died in very mysterious circumstances.
I hear nothing. That's suspicious.
It's gonna be interesting. After his latest health scare, I realized that I had to bring up estate matters with my husband. We sat down and talked about it, and I said that overall, if our kids were to split up his assets 5 ways as opposed to 8 ways, it would be more money for themselves. While it could never replace him, if God forbid he wasn't able to guide them into adulthood, it would be more beneficial to them than their siblings whose windows of exploration are gone. Okay. My husband said he has always had a strained relationship with his kids, and he's been there enough throughout their childhood, trying to get them to value their education, but they ended up taking unstable paths, and in the end, this was all they're doing. More discussion followed, but yesterday we sat down with his lawyers, and he said he would amend it so that his older 3 kids get a very small lump sum of around $300. Leaving our kids and myself as the primary beneficiaries. Am I the a-hole? My husband and I have been the most important people in each other's lives, and I do the same for him. Okay. Let me do my eyebrows, because I don't really think I could do them on camera. And I'll be right back to discuss this. You know that old saying that eyebrows are sisters, not twins. Mine are cousins. They're second cousins, twice removed, plus tax, carry the 2, and include 2 impeachments. So let's begin the discussion, shall we? Well, basically, we have a woman here that's saying that this man's grown children are not entitled to their inheritance. So they're splitting up the will. I'm not okay with this at all. And let's go through it. So we have, I believe they said 7 kids or something like that. I could be wrong. Or 7 or 8 kids. No, 7 kids total plus her makes 8. Okay. Now, number one, I don't think it's right for her to be like, oh, well, his grown children, they had their opportunity. He tried to help them, blah, blah, blah. Right? Those are still his kids, ma'am. Those are still his children. And he should, at least in my opinion, he should look out for his kids like a dad would to the day at least that's how I feel. And I don't think it's right for you to say, oh, well, I want my kids to have blah, blah, blah. You don't know where his kids are going to end up in life. You don't know what they might need that money for. Sure, they're all grown. They're all in their 30s. They're all grown. They're all in their 30s. Cool. What does it have to do with maybe needing assistance? You could be 50 and wish you had some help from your dad. You can be 20 and wish you had some help from your dad or your mom or somebody. What does their age have to do with it? They're grown. That's cute. That's real cute. Please explain what being grown has to do with being financially stable, because yeah, I'm in college, but I know people older than me that are not financially stable that could use, like, if something happened to somebody, I hate to say it, but somebody could need that money. They could. It just is what it is. Now, I am 100,000 million times 2.999% sure that you meant this in a different way. At least I'm praying that you did, because how I'm receiving this is that what you mean is, sorry, babe, your grown kids aren't as important as my children. And also, as I said earlier, this is reading very gold diggery. I think earlier I said, like, oh, my husband died of mysterious circumstances. No, this is just reading really gold diggerish, which, sorry about it. I mean, sorry, not sorry, I guess, because it's just reading weird. I'm doing my eyes first for a very specific reason, by the way. This palette that I'm using is very cheap. I got it from the Mart. It is the Mart, Mr. Wall, rather. It is the Profusion Festival palette, and I wanted to do a little daisy look, a daisy in the spring, daisy in the wintertime, rather. And it's really powdery, and I didn't want to put all of my foundation on and end up having to, wipe a bunch of yellow stuff off my face. So this is why I'm doing my eyes first. But yeah, no, I don't really understand this one. Is she an a-hole though? Everybody on Reddit seems to think so. I could make the argument that no, she's not an a-hole, she's just looking out for her kids, right? That would be very easy to say. She's not an a-hole, she's a mom. She's not an a-hole, she's a mom. You're not a good one. You're not exactly showing your kids, or your stepkids rather, your grown stepkids, that you care about them. What you're really saying is, oh, I'll be okay, and I'll make sure that my kids are going to be okay. His kids don't matter. His kids don't count. Are his kids not his kids because they're grown? Okay, I get you, Susan. Sure. Now let's move on to the issue of the will itself. The will itself was pre-existing. There was already a will in place that had his children and her children involved in it. And she was like, oh, I need to get our affairs in order. But they were already in order because they had to redistribute the money. This means that this is not something she hadn't thought about prior. This is something she thought about before, and she probably was thinking about doing it for quite some time. Concerning, but I digress. I can't really be like, oh, this says a lot about the husband, or this does da-da-da-da, because it in reality, no, it doesn't. It doesn't really say much about the husband at all. And the reason it doesn't say much about the husband is it wasn't his idea. He agreed with it. He went with it because she probably presented it. She put the idea in his head and was like, hey, but my kids, though, and me, though. I had to stop to look at myself for a second because I was like, am I ashy? Hey, your kids, a little old. They don't really need much in life. They seem like they got it all together. But that's not fair. That's still their dad. That's still his kids. Here's the thing for me, though. I've applied some concealer to my eyes. Here's the thing for me that really has me like a little confused, right? So, ooh, this is a little pale. Okay, so what you mean to tell me is that not only did you have his kids basically cut from his will, you have them, I have to look down here, you have them cut from his will, right? But not all the way. You had them cut from his will and said each of them can get $300. Is that the way that you divided it? Now, I don't know how much the estate was worth prior. I don't know how much it was worth prior. But that just reads as petty to me. You know how mad I would be if they were like, oh yeah, you got left $300 and I find out my little half brother or sister got left, anywhere between 2 and, I don't know, 10 times that amount. I'd be pissed as all get out because it's my dad too. And it's not about the money, it's about the principle. Why is it, what did I do to not be considered worth as much as Timmy, Tommy, Chucky, or Scott? What did I do? And now I know that somebody might try to make the argument of, oh, the dad wasn't, he didn't have the best relationship with them. Cool, that's fine. Let's talk about that. What does that have to do with anything? I'm gonna be real. If it was me, if this was my will, my situation, couldn't nobody in the world talk me out of giving all of my kids, or at least trying to give all of my kids the exact same amount of money, or at least trying to. The only way somebody would work their way out of my will is if they died before me, or if they did something unspeakably terrible, awful to me or their siblings. That is the only way. Like that, it would be virtually impossible for me to be like, no, they're not getting anything, or they're getting less. Why would I give you less? That doesn't make any sense. Here, oh, also, she's like, oh, I would do the same. If it were me, I would do the same. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Because those would be your kids we're talking about, not his. That's different. All parents love differently. If it's my children, it's different. And regardless of how everybody feels, I know some people are like, oh, I love my kids all the exact same way. Seeing as these children are adults, and her children are children. They're 17 and young. I think the youngest is 3, the oldest is 17. Her children are children. She views those as her babies. She would not do the same. And like she can claim up and down all damn day that she would do the same. If it was me in this situation, and if I had this type of relationship with my kids, I would do the same because whatever. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. When the kids were on their own financial endeavors, whatever they were doing in life, they were like, we don't want dad to be a part of it. And that's their business. Why she felt the need to even state that or be involved in that, I don't know. But that was their business. That has nothing to do with the future. That has nothing to do with his money. That has the aspects, at least the way that I see it, the aspects of their relationship, sure, that they form that interpersonal connection or disconnection, but they do not distribute love, nor should they distribute how much money you should get when they die or when they pass away. Now, money is just a part of it, okay? Money is just a small part of it. Give me a second to finish my eyes and I'll be back. That's what I'm saying. I know it look crazy. I know. I can't even promise you that this look will come out okay because I've never had to fight so hard to make eyeshadow work in my life. It didn't matter what primer. I literally took the makeup off, put it back on. It was a mess. So this is a no for me. This palette is a no for me, even though I already bought it, so I'll have to use it again because as I was saying, it's not even really about the money. What this boils down to is bigger than the money. It's bigger than any amount of money you could ever put on a piece of paper. It's bigger than any check you could cut. Why is it bigger than any check you could cut? Because this is about, at least to me, this boils down to being about this man and his kids, the relationship he has with his kids. And then on top of that, it also comes down a lot to me about her, how she feels about these kids. The way she described them was not, she didn't describe them as, oh, I love them just as much, or I see them as da-da-da-da. She was like, no, them's his kids. I have mine. And you know what? That's fine. I know people that see that way too. And they're grown, so I can't be like, oh, treat them. I mean, you should treat them equally. They're your husband's kids. At the same time, I kind of just get the feeling that what you should be doing, rather than saying, oh, they're grown, or instead of saying they have their own, right? They have their own. It's not about having their own. It's not fair for you to decide whether or not his kids are entitled to something that they're more entitled to than you are, in my opinion. Oh, I'm his wife. Those are his kids. And they came before your kids. Just saying. Now, if we approach it with that logic, then we would just as bad as her, right? Just, oh, well, they're my kids and they're my kids that I have with him. Sorry, I'm looking over here, not at you, because I have to see my face. But yeah, no, they're my kids, so I want my kids to have a head start in life, and I want them to be able to pay for the things that they want to pay for and do the things they want to do. And you know what? That's fine. That's cool. I get it. I want my kids to be able to pay whatever they want to pay for, whether they have mommy, daddy, or whoever. But you just can't ignore his other kids because you want your kids to have a good life. How is that fair? Like, let's say, like, oh, they're kids together and she has grown children, right? She would not cut her kids off. No, she wouldn't. I strongly, highly doubt that she would. And she's claiming that if it was me, she would. If it was me, I would do it. I would do it for him. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You know, what I did in my previous video was I tried to see from both perspectives, right? From her perspective, I have children that are young, they're not established. We don't know if their father will be around to take care of them and to lead them into adulthood, as she had written. And so I'm just putting basically, call it insurance over my children, right? I want my kids to make sure that they have everything in life, and I want to make sure that I'm secure as well. From the kids' perspective, from the grown kids' perspective, even though they are not particularly mentioned in this, but this is the only other group of people that I can compare the issue to. From their perspective, our dad is married to this lady who is trying, yes, I'm using lipstick to contour. I do it sometimes, mind your business. Our dad is married to this lady. The end. And she basically, I don't want to say she doesn't like us, but she has her own children, and she's making the decision that dad needs to give us a smaller amount in his will. We are all established. Gotta be real quiet when you're doing that nose contour. We're all established. We all have our own. And for the most part, we're doing pretty well. We're all put together. But this is still our dad. You never know when we might need something, when something might come up and we just may not have it. And we can't always turn to dad in the situation because he might not be here. Okay. Whose side should I be on? Ideally, I should be on her side, right? She's just looking out for her kids. She just wants her kids to have what they deserve, right? You can't just decide whether or not somebody else's kids are worth looking out for because you have your own. That's not fair, right? It's wrong. You can't just decide, oh, well, his kids are grown. They have it together. Because no, they might not. They might not have it together. They might not even be okay. But because they had a previous, in your eyes, relationship with their father where I guess you could say they didn't rely on him the way that I guess you intend to rely on him, or your kids deserve to rely on him, or anything along those lines. They don't have that type of relationship with their dad, which to you probably reads as they don't need him. I'm completely aware that of how life works. Not, put anything on my parents, but I'm aware of how life works. So if I was in the position where they only gave the money to the younger kids, so let's say they gave the money to one of my older sisters, myself, and my younger brother, I can understand why my siblings might be like, what the hell? Is this fair? Is that fair? Is that okay? Because no, it's not. That's not fair. That's not okay. You can't decide whether or not somebody deserves the help that they, so whoa, my nose looks snatched as hell. That was not my intention for the day. Jesus Christ. You can't decide whether or not somebody deserves the help that, a parent intends to leave for them. And if he intended to leave it for them in the first place, which it seems that he did because you had to meet with the lawyer to change his will, which, yikes, sis, was it that serious? And nobody's gonna say you can't look out for your kids. She's just looking out for her kids. That was the way she described it. Then I see nothing wrong with it. But then as I keep repeating, he has kids too. Those are also his children. So you can't just be like, never mind. Never mind. He has kids too, but like they're not as important as my kids, I guess. They're grown. They have their own. That's not really how it works, is it? That's not really, or at least that's not how it should work. For you to go out of your way to take from somebody else's children because you want your kids to be better off, you want to set your kids up on the right foot, it reads very gold diggery. And I don't know how to say it other than that, really. I don't know how to say, like, no, that wasn't cool, that wasn't nice, other than to be like, you're reading very gold diggery, ma'am. I'm opening the discussion to ask, everybody's raised differently. We're all raised with different intentions. Everybody's raised with a different amount of siblings, right? Can you imagine having to have that discussion with his grown children after he's gone? Of, yeah, you had more money and we were going to divide it evenly, but my kids kind of needed it more than you. Does that make sense to anybody? Does that not read wrong? I don't know. I kind of wish that because my mom's not here right now, she left, she went to the store. I kind of wish that I had asked my mom about this before I started filming, because any amount of money, there's no amount of money in the world that can replace your dad. There's no amount of money in the world that can replace your mom. I can't even walk with the expectation of that being normalized. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It just feels kind of like she's like, oh, well, I mean, it's in a way, even though she said, oh, it can't replace him, it kind of feels like that's what you're doing. Like, at first, I was like, oh, well, it's not about, no, you're trying to preemptively replace your husband and father with some money. And in a way, you're saying, well, they already had him, and my kids may not be able to experience him for that long. They already had the benefits of having a dad, the money, the this thing, the that thing, mostly the money. And therefore, they just need the check. They just need the check at the end of the day. At least that's the way I'm reading it. Allow me to finish my eyes, and I will be back. I'm now coming to the end of this video. I'm going to do my lips really quick and answer the question of, is this woman an asshole or not? Based on what I've been saying this entire time, yeah, she is. Of money, there's no amount of money in the entire world that can replace your husband. There's no money in the entire world that can replace, these kids' fathers. These kids' fathers. Even if your kid is 30. I have siblings that are almost 40. Okay? Even then, either something in the world can replace my dad. Money can replace my dad. And then the money that I'm entitled to, if something were to happen to my father, I'm still not entitled to it because I'm growing? What? That doesn't make any sense. The money he intended to leave for me, I'm not entitled to it because I'm grown? That doesn't make any sense. So yes, you are an asshole. You're an asshole because you're reading very gold diggery, which is honestly my vibe. But, let me do my hair. Okay, here's the thing. My intention was to give you like, ooh, I'm a rich Southern belle vibes, but it ended up I just look really nice. I just look just like I'm really nice to people, but whatever. But yeah, no, you're giving very gold digger vibes. You're giving very much so, I'm not particularly worried about them damn kids vibes or adults vibes. I'm just kind of like, this is kind of gross. And you're an asshole. It is what it is. But maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. You can decide. So, give me your thoughts, your such and suches and so-and-sos in the comments below. I would deeply appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my channel, pretty please. I would love some interaction. I would love to see people chatting. I also need makeup tips because this is pretty much all I know how to do. The look I did before and the look I did now, I can do this in just different colors. I don't know how to do makeup. So drop that in below as well. And subscribe and